Good morning, everyone. This is Bob Burge with the Indiana Department of Workforce Development. Thanks for joining us today. We have a very special virtual job fair, a statewide job fair on behalf of the U.S. Census Bureau. We're going to jump into the program in just a second. I have a couple housekeeping items I like to do at the beginning of these. The first is to go over audio. Hopefully you are hearing us clearly. You have a couple audio options. One is to go through your laptop itself or your phone directly. When you go through your laptop, it is actually voice over IP. Sometimes if more than one of you are in the room, you can get some feedback. So in that case, we would suggest that you use the telephone option. We're actually using the telephone option ourselves right now. So you'll see a number you can dial in on. So a couple different audio options if you have trouble one way or the other. Questions are an important part of these. On the upper right-hand side, you'll see the ability to send us questions, those that we don't get to today. I'm sure the folks from the Census Bureau will be back in touch. They do have your contact information now. So do send us questions. We like that. And also, you're going to be getting a lot of information today. If you miss something or you want to go back over it, you'll have that opportunity. Today's program is being recorded. It'll be turned into a MP4 video, and you'll get that, I think, about 24 hours from now. So about this time tomorrow, and that does go to those that are on live with us right now and those that registered. So be on the lookout for the recording to come. And I like to do, we often do polling questions. I'm going to actually do a polling question right now. And certainly it's not a requirement of these positions, but the polling question is, are you currently unemployed? Yes or no? A very simple question, and part-time work would not be unemployed. So not a requirement one way or the other. It just kind of helps on those that are looking. So I want to show that number up in a second. It's actually probably more healthier than I would have guessed. So and then also want you to hang on near the end, because we are going to do a couple follow-up polling questions at the end to determine if you're still interested in some follow-up. So be on the lookout for that. Let me close this out, and I'm going to share the results. So really, more than I would have, or less than I would have guessed. So 57% of those on today are unemployed, but 43% are not. So that's a good one way or the other. So let me hide that, and with that, let's get things kicked off. I'm going to introduce probably the gentleman that played a big role in making this happen. Jim Mehring is the Chief of Staff with JDH Contracting, and he's also, for us, serves as the Region 5 Workforce Development Board Chair, which is the counties that surround Marion County, to give you all a statewide perspective. But today's program is a statewide program, and thanks to Jim for making this all happen. Jim, I'm going to turn it over to you to get things kicked off and introduce our special guest.
Thank you very much, Bob, and good morning to everyone. Again, my name is Jim Mehring. It's an honor to be able to serve as the chair of the Region 5 Workforce Development Board. As I mentioned one other time, it's often been said that necessity is the mother of invention, or becomes a mother of invention. So with that in mind, and kind of coupled with our current environment, I really would like to extend a very warm welcome to all those who are participating in today's virtual job fair. And as a point of reference, as Bob had mentioned, for Region 5, we do serve those 8 counties immediately surrounding Marion County. Kind of a backing up to a little higher level, talking a little bit about Work One for businesses. Work One offers very cost-effective and convenient access to job seekers for those employees or individuals looking for employment, desiring to develop a career plan, or maybe even looking for a job or career change. Work One is a key source for information, job referrals, placement assistance, and many, many other services. While Work One offices are currently closed, all the staff members, I can assure you, are working very hard remotely to continue to serve the needs of both job seekers and businesses throughout the state. So please go to the website, www.workonecentral.org for more information. And that will include phone numbers for the offices or the office closest to you. Today's virtual job fair, and I'm really excited about this, will present opportunities with becoming part of taking the census throughout the state of Indiana. Obviously, you know this is a national effort, and the older I get, it's hard for me to imagine that 10 years have already passed again, but it is here, and it's very important that we participate in accurate accounting for a lot of reasons. I'm really looking forward to hearing about these opportunities that will be presented today. So with that, it is my distinct pleasure to introduce Mustafa Harb. Mustafa serves as the recruiting manager for the U.S. Census Bureau out of the Chicago Regional Center. So with that, Mustafa, thank you so much for your time, and I will turn it over to you.
Thank you, Jim. Good morning, everyone. My name is Mustafa. I'm a recruiting manager for the United States Census Bureau. Thank you so much for joining us. I will start with a general overview of the Census Bureau, and then a little bit of history, historical overview, and finally I will move on to go over the positions we are currently hiring for. The Census Bureau is the federal government's largest statistical agency. We provide current facts and figures about America's people, places, and economy. In a word, basically, we are the federal government's data collection agency. We collect data of all sorts. One of the biggest things we do every 10 years is the decennial census. It happens every 10 years. The 2020 census will provide a snapshot of our nation, who we are, where we live, and so much more. By law, we are bound to keep your information confidential, and we are bound by basically Title 13 of the U.S. Code. And if you are like me, you're probably wondering what is Title 13. In my plain, simple English, Title 13 protects your answers to the 2020 census. Under this title, we cannot release any PII, personally identifiable information, about you, your home, or your business, even to law enforcement agencies. Furthermore, this law ensures that your private data is protected and that your answers cannot be used against you by any government agency or court. Violating this law is a federal crime punishable by prison time and or a fine of up to $250,000. Now I will move on to talk more about the census. Why do we do the census? The census is required by the law. The U.S. Constitution empowers the Congress to carry out the census in such manner as that shall by law direct, and that is Article 1, Section 2 of the U.S. Constitution. Here's some fun facts. The first census was conducted in 1790. It began on August 2nd, 1790, and officially ended 9 months later, on May 2nd, 1791. Back then, the total U.S. population was almost 4 million. The most populous state was Virginia, and the least populous state was Delaware. And back then, it was actually conducted by U.S. Marshals and their deputies. Back then, it was a good idea. Nowadays, we actually rely on the public to help us actually conduct the census. Moving on, as I said, we collect data. We collect all kinds of data. And what do we do with the data? The data collected is basically used for three major purposes: congressional representation, federal funding, and business decisions. In terms of congressional representation, as I said, the Constitution mandates that the country counts its population once every 10 years. It helps determine, or actually it determines, the number of seats each state has in the House of Representatives. Smaller states like Vermont and Delaware have one representative, while large states like California have 53 representatives. And if you are curious about our beautiful state, Indiana has 9 representatives. So the first purpose, the data is used to determine congressional representation. Also, the results will inform how hundreds of billions of dollars in federal funding, to be exact, $675 billion, are allocated to more than 100 programs, including the well-known ones, Medicaid, Head Start, and SNAP, the food stamps program, basically. Finally, the data we collect is also used to basically for business decisions. Business owners rely on census results to make decisions such as where to open new stores, restaurants, factories, offices, where to expand operations, where to recruit employees, and which products and services to offer. Now I'll move on to the fun stuff.
Hey, Mustafa, I want to jump right in here. I just think that history is incredible. Almost, if I'm doing my math right, almost 230 years. I think that's fascinating. I did want to ask, as we jump into the actual jobs, has it always been door to door? I mean, I assume it was an email back then, but has it always been door to door, a door to door concept?
Yes, this is actually the last one since 1790 all the way to 2010. It was through mail. You know, we would mail the questionnaire form to households. They would send it back, and those who don't respond, then we would send out census takers to get that information from them. This year in particular is the first time we've gone online. So households can go online and fill out their form without the need to mail in the form. So this is the first time actually, 2020, where it's you can just go to 2020census.gov and respond to the questionnaire. Okay,
and then in this case, those that you still don't hear from are the ones we're going to be talking about in large part today, correct?
That is correct.
Okay, great. Hey, thanks for sharing that, and let's jump right in.
Awesome. Okay, so we are offering actually we are hiring for a wide variety of positions. I should be mentioned that the majority of them at this time are census takers. However, we still have a few positions like census field supervisors, recruiting assistants, clerks, clerical positions, and office operations supervisors. I'll talk about each in more detail in the next slide.
Okay.
So the first, the big one is census takers. As a census taker, basically, you will go door to door so as to collect basically information from households. You will interview household residents and update their address lists. You will be, once hired, you will attend paid training. And you will be provided with whatever it takes to make sure you succeed out in the field before you actually go out in the field. Prior to the census, so you use maps and address lists to determine if the addresses are correct. This is what we call address canvassing, basically where we send census takers to scout the area, update addresses. And I should tell you that this step has already been completed. But in short, as a census taker or enumerator, that's another word, you will be going door to door, basically to find out how many people live in the household and a few other questions. This process is not random. You will be assigned to go to certain households, basically households that have not self-responded, that they haven't called, or they have not done the online questionnaire. You will be issued a smartphone and a tablet to help you, basically elicit that information. Schedule for this kind of position is very flexible. Literally, you set your own schedule. However, given the fact that most households are available, like on basically evenings and weekends, you may be asked to work weekends and evenings. But no matter what kind of schedule you have, we will work with you. And the work itself is done in the field. And I'll talk a little bit more about working in the field in the next couple of slides in light of COVID-19 and all of that.
Okay.
So
hey, Mustafa, I did have a couple kind of related questions that have come in, and they have to do with a little bit on qualifications. One is, do you hire felons? And another one, will a misdemeanor disqualify me? Can you speak to that for just a second before we move on? Since this is the census taker is the largest group, right? And so there was some interest in this specific position, I think, where all the volume is. And then what can you say about hiring felons, and would a misdemeanor disqualify me?
Yes, we welcome everyone. We strongly encouraging everyone to apply. If you happen to have a some background issues, we still want you to apply. Every case is evaluated on an individual basis. We look at recency, we look at seriousness, and a few other factors. Having a misdemeanor or even a felony will not automatically disqualify you from being considered for any of our positions. So we strongly encourage everyone to apply. Everyone is welcome to apply.
Okay, great. Just wanted to check on that. So next is...
And as a recruiter, at heart, I always tell my recruits, it doesn't really matter what you have on your background, even if you're applying for a state government, whatever position it is, don't deprive yourself from the opportunity. Just put in your application. You never know. Just, again, lots of things go into play when it comes to recruiting, recency, seriousness, and several others. So still put in your application and just hope for the best. At least, you will get to know, you'll know the answer.
Hey, Mustafa, another question that came in asking, and it also fits with the previous slide, the hourly wage on the right, the $18 to $25, does that depend on what? Is that geographic location? You can see it's 18 to 25 on both, and so a question came in. I thought that was a good one. What can you speak to that?
Yeah. So most census takers basically start at $18, and it's geographically based, basically. So like Marion County, Indianapolis, so census takers make $22.50. Madison County, they'll make, we're paying $19 an hour. Delaware County, we're paying $18.50. So it really varies from one county to another, but you're guaranteed a minimum of $18 per hour.
Okay, thanks. So next we're going to move on to the next position, the field supervisors, right?
Okay. As a field supervisor, basically, you will have a team of census takers. So you will monitor their progress, their performance. If you happen to have had, supervisory background, managerial background, we encourage you to consider applying for supervisory positions. Those pay a little bit more, but as you know, they come with more responsibilities. As I said, is basically the job. You will be assigned a team of census takers, anywhere from 5 to 15 census takers, and you will just basically oversee their progress, make sure they are going to places they're assigned to go to. Just like being a census taker, you will also the work is done in the field and at home. The main difference between being a census taker, I think one of the main differences is basically has to do with the schedule. As a census taker, you can do it part-time, you can do it full-time, mornings, evening, etc. But when it comes to supervisors, we would like you to mostly, be a full-time, working at a minimum, basically 40 hours. 40 hours.
Okay.
Um,
Okay.
so again, yeah, yes.
And then I got some more coming in, but let's get through some of these first, and then we'll jump into many questions at the end. So, I did have a question on this one that came through. On the census field supervisors, are they obviously supervising crews in their area? Are they also knocking on doors and taking census as well?
Supervisors will not be knocking on doors. There may be times where they may be asked to knock on doors, but normally they
Okay.
are only to oversee their team of census takers.
Okay, thanks for that. And let's jump on to the third position. Looks like that is recruiting assistant. So this is on the recruiting side where you work, I think, right?
Yes, exactly. If you want to work for me, please, consider, applying. And you know what, Bob, the way we have it is very, we have one standard application. So when you put in your application, you don't necessarily get to choose the position, but you will be considered for all of these positions with the exception of supervisory ones. If you want to be considered for supervisory positions, on the application, there will be a little box that asks you to check if you want to be considered for supervisory positions. If you don't want to be considered, then you need not check that box. I'll talk more a little bit about the application in just a little bit.
Okay.
So another position we're hiring for is recruiting assistant. As a recruiting assistant, you will basically give presentations, meet with representatives from the community, to secure commitments, from external partners to help us promote the census. You will be issued, electronic devices, basically a cell phone and a tablet to help you basically help you do your job. Schedules are very follow regular business hours, but can be flexible. Right now on my team, I have full-time. I have people who already have full-time jobs, but they do it full part-time. I have people who do it work only in the mornings. I have others who work evenings. This is this is one of the most flexible positions we have. Literally, you set your own schedule. You can do it part-time, full-time, evenings, mornings, however, whatever works for you.
Okay.
And for this job, for this position, it's strictly out in the field.
Okay. Next one is, let's see. Do you have anything else to add on this one before we move on, Mustafa?
This one, we have a few positions, but not so many. It's I just want to put it up there. So there may be a few positions in Fort Wayne, a few positions down in Indianapolis, but as I said, the largest group we're hiring for is census takers.
Okay, and I do have a lot of questions coming in. I think I'm going to probably hold most of these for the end, but I did want to let you know, Mustafa, that Stephanie responded, that sounds really fun. So I just wanted to let you know that. So let's move on.
I truly, I myself, actually, I'm going to share this on a voluntary basis. I started as a recruiting assistant myself, and it was one of the most enjoyable things I've done in my life.
Good.
It's really fun. You get to, and here's the thing, as a recruiting assistant, I should probably say that if you work out in the field, so we will pay you basically whatever the pay is in your county, but we will also reimburse you for mileage. So you get reimbursed 58 cents per mile.
Okay, that was a question that came in already. That's more than we get. Okay, well, great, Mustafa. You're able to throw a lot of exciting stuff in here. Let's go on to number 4. These are clerk positions. What can you tell us about this?
Okay. So if you don't like working out in the field, we have office positions. Those are basically needed in or near area census offices to perform administrative and clerical tasks in support of various functions, including payroll, personnel, recruiting, and field operations. Clerks will be will use desktop or laptop computers or other electronic devices issued by the Census Bureau, such as smartphones and tablets, to conduct their work. Schedules typically follow regular business hours, but can also be flexible. In fact, in light of COVID-19, we've started doing shifts basically to minimize the number of people available in the office. Um, and some of this, again, so with this flexibility, you may be able to do work on evenings, in the evenings and on weekends. And as I said, this is a strictly office-based position.
Okay,
And
Mustafa, I did have a couple questions bounce in on this one. I assume since it's an office position, does not pay mileage. Does that sound right?
it does not pay mileage.
Okay. And then also, how many offices like this are around the state?
We have 4 offices in the state of Indiana. We have one down in Indianapolis. We have one in Fort Wayne. We have one in Evansville, and we have one in Lake County.
Okay, good. Well, that helps. I think.
So
Yeah.
and each
Go ahead.
yeah, I just and each of one of those offices is basically in charge of several counties. So like the Indianapolis office is in charge of Marion, Hancock, Hendricks. Fort Wayne
Sure.
is in charge of Allen County. So basically 20, 21, 22 counties.
Okay. So those are the clerks, and then I think we got one more opportunity we're going to talk about, and I think that is office operations supervisor. So what can you tell us about this?
Yeah, for this one is an analogy. This is more like census takers are supervised by census field supervisors. Clerks are supervised by office operations supervisors. As an office
Okay.
supervisor, basically, you will assist in the management of office functions and day-to-day activities to support field operations. The person in this position oversees clerks and office operations, develop work schedules, assignment preparations and tracking, conduct quality checks, and do a little bit of data entry, and also oversee shipment activities. Those are full-time positions. Usually they're full-time positions, but they can still be part-time. We will work with you on that. And they may also require working on specific days, evenings, and or weekends. So as I said, this is more like, you will be overseeing clerks, just like field supervisors, or overseeing recruiting assistants and census takers. And this is the last.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let me. I think first, before we jump into the questions, and I will tell you, we've done a lot of these, Mustafa, but I don't know if I've seen one that's gotten so many very positive questions of folks that want to know more. So I know we probably won't be able to get to all these today, but I'm holding these off for you, and we'll get to as many as we can. But then I think you and your team will have to follow up on some of these. So before that, I think we got a couple more slides to add, right?
Yes.
Okay, here we go.
Okay. So now I'm just gonna briefly go over the requirements. To be eligible for a 2020 census job, you must be at least 18 years old. There's no cap on age, but there is basically you have to be 18 for us to be able to. And the reason behind that has to do with fingerprinting, because you cannot, by law, after 9/11, you cannot fingerprint a minor. If you are 18, or if you are turning 18, say in the next couple of weeks, months, we would encourage you to apply. We want you to apply. The system will basically reserve a spot for you. Once you turn 18, the system will open up and we will get a hold of you to see if you are still available and interested. So if you have a high schooler who just finished but they're not quite 18, I would encourage them to apply.
Okay.
The second requirement is, you have to have a valid social security number, and by valid we mean valid for work. It has to say valid. It has to be valid to work for the Census Bureau. Consistent with law, all federal employees must be U.S. citizens. We also, you have to have a valid email address and access to a computer with internet. You're gonna need an email basically to create your account. You're gonna need an email address basically to put in your application. You also need to complete an application and answer assessment questions. We also want you to have a valid driver's license and access to a vehicle, because a lot of our positions, as you saw, basically require driving out in the field. And as I said, all driving is reimbursable. We will reimburse you 58 cents for all driving you do. You must also speak, write, read, and write in English. Bilingual applicants, actually, those who speak a language other in addition to English, are specially encouraged to apply. Males who are born after December 31st, 1959 should be registered with the Selective Service. Pretty much, it's my experience that everyone is registered with the Selective Service. If you're not sure what your Selective Service number is, there will be a link on the application that will take you directly to the Selective Service system. You enter your basically social security number, date of birth, and you will get your basically your Selective Service number right away. Another requirement for our jobs is there will be a fingerprinting, and you must also pass a criminal background check and a review of criminal records. And as I said, regardless of what your background looks like, we encourage you to apply. Each applicant is evaluated basically on an individual basis, so a case by case. And we want you to commit to completing the training. Usually it's a 3-day training, paid training. You get paid at a slightly, so if you get selected for a census taker position in Indianapolis, for example, you'll be making, as I said, $22.50 during training. I think you get $1 less or something like that, but you're getting paid for your training. And finally, we would like you to be work flexible hours, so which can include days, evenings, and weekends.
Okay.
But regardless of whatever, if you already have a full time and you're just looking to make some extra money, we will work around your schedule as well.
Okay, so part-time is an option. That was a couple questions that came in. So if somebody that is working, maybe working another part-time job or even a full-time job, at least consider this because it may work out, right?
Yes, we would. We love to have you. In fact, I'm gonna share a little secret. If you work during the week, like let's say you have a set schedule, 8 to 5, and you can spare a few hours in the evening. In fact, we pay more after 6 p.m. You get paid an extra 10%. You get the night shift. And if you do work on Sundays, you get Sunday premium, which is an extra 25%.
Okay, good to know. So those are some things that I'm glad you added. I think we got another slide here that talks, I think just kind of an overview, right? So I think this kind of summarizes really what you just touched on.
Yeah, so basically, this is just a quick summary. We pay competitive wages starting at $18 all the way to $25. Given current times, this is really, excellent. You get paid every week, which is really nice. Not a whole lot of places are doing that anymore. Flexible hours. You set your own schedule. mornings, evenings, part-time, full-time, however, whatever works for you. You get paid for training, and most of these positions actually last 8 weeks with opportunities for extension. So the way it works, you will be hired on a temporary basis, 8 weeks at a time. If you don't accept, you tell us, hey, like, I'm just gonna put it this way. If you don't tell us anything, we will automatically, and of course, um, if you don't tell us anything, you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, your job gets extended for another 8 weeks.
Okay.
Mm.
All right. So let's. Okay. So you want a special call out for veterans that may be on, or someone who may know a veteran that's interested, right?
Yes, yes. If you are a veteran, we especially welcome you to apply. And as for the application, we don't really require any documents. So when you actually go to the application link, we don't require a resume. We don't require pretty much anything. Unless you are a veteran, then and you want to claim those points, you may get 5 points, 10 points, up to 15 points, depending on your release status. We want you to upload a copy of your DD 214, which is your certificate of discharge or release. Depending on that status, you may get 5 points, 10 points, or 15 points. In short, if you are a veteran, you get pumped to the top of the list. So we would love to encourage you to apply and consider applying for our positions.
Okay. Next up, I think we have something that you touched on, the bilingual and non-citizen applicants. I know we've got a couple questions that have come through. So what do you want to emphasize here again?
Yeah, another category of applicants we especially welcome to apply are bilingual speakers. If you speak a language in addition, to English, we encourage you to apply. Non-citizens, again, all federal employees by law need to be U.S. citizens. If you are a non-citizen, you may be considered for positions that require proficiency in a language if no qualified citizens are available. So, like, let's say we are in need of a Burmese speaker, and we don't have any U.S. citizens who speak Burmese. So we might hire a non-citizen as a translator to help as U.S. citizen census taker do the job. So, but those non-citizens must present documentation of employment eligible. They have to be eligible to work in the country. So they may be in their way of getting naturalized and become U.S. citizens, but we still need to make sure that they are eligible to work in the States.
Okay, good. That answers several questions that have come through, and I think they're going to like that response. So there is a need. Non-citizens can apply. There's a process for that, but the needs for a wide range of languages is real important. So next, let's go to one of the big issues right now, the issue of safety. So we're going to let's talk a little bit about that.
Yes. So you may be concerned about, COVID-19, and as you saw, most of our positions are out in the field. So there will be interaction with the public to protect the health and safety of our workforce and the public. So we have taken the following safety measures prior to resuming field operations. As of now, most of our operations are on hold. But they should be resumed. Some have already resumed actually as of this week, and more operations will resume starting June 1st. But to ensure your safety and that of the public, we started issuing personal protective equipment, PPE, and authorizing employees, office and staff employees, basically sanitization, census takers and our employees are authorized basically a certain amount of money to purchase, sanitizing items, basically. Something here. Screen went black on me. Let me just. And also, basically, we have been conducting deep cleaning of office workspaces. We have developed mandatory COVID-19 training, which outlines steps for staying safe while performing field duties. We have been practicing social distancing, including shift work in offices. And we've also maximized telework when possible. So if telework is available, we've allowed teleworking. As I said, 2020 census field operations have resumed in select locations across the nation. More operations will be back to normal starting June 1st. The phased return to work plan adheres to guidance from the Office of Management and Budget and Office of Personnel Management, as well as federal, state, and local authorities, including the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. The U.S. Census Bureau continues to accept applications for temporary part-time positions with the 2020 census. Although many jobs offers have been made, there is still an opportunity for jobs to be offered. So basically, we will protecting the health and safety of our employees is our top priority, and we will do whatever it takes to protect your safety and that of the public.
Okay, Mustafa, it sounds like a lot has been put into safety as a top priority. That's good to hear. I think that's kind of a two-way process as well. Before we jump into the big question, how to apply, several have come in. If you can just touch on the timeline. So right now, there's not people out canvassing in the field. That's what you're doing. You're building this crew, this team up to be statewide, and they're both part-time and full-time positions for the census takers. But what can you speak to that 8-week timeline, when it starts and when it stops, or do we know that yet?
I'll just put it this way. So we, if you get I would encourage everyone to put in their application today, because the application itself takes anywhere from 2 to 3 weeks, especially to get fingerprinted and to pass an FBI background check. So given current circumstances, it may even take longer. So that's why it's, I would encourage everyone to put in their application today. And I promise you the application won't take more than 20 minutes. So we have people starting as early as June 1st, and we are continuously hiring people, hiring and training. So basically when you clear the FBI background, we'll get a hold of you and try and schedule you for training.
Okay, and I do want to add another comment that came in from Teresa. She said, very good safety plans. So kudos to you and your team for that and what you presented on that. Hey, before we get into the how to apply, since it is very related, the last 3 questions I've got in are all on that. People that have previously applied and they haven't been contacted. Is it safe to assume because of COVID, a lot of things were put on hold? And should these people reapply right now since they're back in with you, or should they'll get your contact information at the end? Should they send you a special note that, hey, I applied in January, I applied in Warwick County, wherever it was? What can you say for those folks? And there's a lot of those coming in, people that have already gone through this and now they're waiting to hear on that status. Should they reapply? Can they reapply, or should they drop you a special note saying just that?
There is no need to reapply. They are still, if you have submitted your application, I would encourage you to log in to your application to the portal and check on the status of your application. You are more than welcome to send me an email, call me. and I will be more than happy to check on the status of your application. But generally speaking, you don't need to reapply. We still have your information, and we will be reaching out to you shortly.
Okay, and they do have the ability of dropping you a note. I don't want to flood your inbox because I can see right now there's lots and lots of interest, which is exciting because I know you have hundreds of positions, literally, right, that you need to fill.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
We do have.
Okay. Go ahead.
Okay. So now we get to the how to apply. So unfortunately, we are not accepting paper applications. All of our applications is done online. You will need to visit 2020census.gov/jobs. And this is what the application looks like.
Okay.
Right here it says apply now. If you click on apply now, so it will take you straight to the application portal. The first step is to, if you have applied, then you, as I said, no need to reapply again. If you haven't never submitted an application with us, then you will need to create a profile. So the first step is to create your profile. You'll just basically input your name, your first name, your last name. And down here actually, down here it gives you two options. If you just want to check on the status of your application, you will go to returning applicants. If you're brand new, just create a profile.
Okay, so it kind of walks you through the process, right?
Yeah.
And if you're a robot, you're going to have trouble. But okay, so and then the returning folks will go in and then it asks for their login. So okay, that all makes good sense.
Yeah. So once you create your application, basically a confirmation email will be sent. A confirmation will be sent to your email, basically to verify it's you applying for the job. Once you pass that step, then you'll go back. It will take you back to the application portal, and then you will start your application. Generally, basically, the application, as I said, takes no more than 20 minutes. The first section of it is just information about yourself, tell us a little bit about you, answer a few questions, whether you have worked for the federal government, whether you are a current federal employee, state employee, law enforcement, a few questions of that nature, and then complete a personality assessment questionnaire. And that's basically our application, the personality assessment questionnaire. 33 questions about your personal preferences, your learning aptitude, stuff like that. If you want to be considered for supervisory positions, as I said, make sure you check that box. And if you do check that box, you will be asked to answer a few more questions, just to give us more insights about your supervisory background.
Okay. All right. So this has been great, Mustafa, and great job, because I will tell you, there's been no shortage of questions. So let's jump into some of those right now. And again, we'll take at least till next 5 minutes or so. But then again, there may be some follow-up needed. So what about, you just mentioned a little bit ago, I'm a federal employee already. Can I still apply if I'm a federal employee?
Yes. If you are a federal employee, and we have worked with other federal agencies, and we have developed what they call dual employment agreements. So we welcome other federal employees working for other federal agencies to work for the census. If you are not sure if the list of federal agencies who have agreed to let their employees work for us is available on our website, 2020census.gov. But if you are not sure, I would still encourage you to put in your application. Just put in your application, and even if your agency is not showing on that list, you can still apply, and then we will follow up on it.
Okay. Someone has asked, can I work, I know you mentioned part-time, can I only work 15 hours per week?
Yes. In fact, we would love for you to commit a minimum of 12 hours per week.
Okay, that's good to know. And I know you touched on this, but is training paid? And I guess I'll stretch that a little bit. When training starts, do you start getting paid?
Yes. You get paid for training, as I said, as a slightly lower rate. So if you're making like 18, if you say like you're in Madison County, Anderson, Indiana, you will get paid $19 an hour. During training, I think it's $1 less, so you may be making $18 an hour. But you're guaranteed paid training. That's for sure.
Okay, there's a question on taxes. Are taxes taken out, or is this like a 1099 and taxes are up to you later? How's taxes done?
Taxes will be deducted basically based on one's claim status. So so you will be taxes will be taken out of your paycheck, and that's only for your hourly pay. No taxes will be deducted from your reimbursement. So if you make $300 in reimbursement, that's not tax deductible. Nothing will be deducted from that. It's strictly for your income.
Okay, so mileage, for example, won't get taxed. So what about a question here on somebody that is not available during the week? Is there any training that's available on weekends?
We have facilitated training on weekends, or more like Friday through Sunday. So there may be opportunities for training on weekends, yes.
Okay. And is training done online or in person?
At this time, I don't necessarily have all the information, but we have been doing online training. There may be some face-to-face training following, COVID-19, guidelines and all of that. Yes.
Okay. And cell phone question: will you issue a cell phone, or will they be required to use their own?
As a census taker, you will be issued a cell phone. At the very you will be issued that cell phone right after training. So we will also issue a template. Okay.
Another question on the clerk's positions, the hours. What are the number of hours for the clerks? Number of hours a week could they count on getting paid for?
For clerks, we would love clerks to work full time, 40 hours per week, but we are also open to part-time hours.
Okay. And another question on, there's several questions on specific locations. That's going to be better for you guys and your team to follow up with later, right?
Sure, yeah. On the next slide, I have my contact info. If it's not in my area of assignment, I will, connect
Sure.
you with basically the nearest area census office for someone to provide accurate answers.
Okay. And so again, just a reminder to everybody, you will be getting a copy of this recording. So if you don't have this information down, you can see Mustafa's contact information there, including his email address. So some more questions. Can more than one person from a household get involved?
Yes, we would love for everyone to apply. So spouses, children, and there may be opportunities. They may be working together.
Sure.
We're committed to letting people work locally. So depending on like need and several other factors, we may end up having like a husband and wife work in the same area.
Sure. We talked about part-time work, but Nicole's got a good question. Can you work more than 40 hours a week?
Yes, there are opportunities for overtime.
Okay. And again, the questions don't seem to end here. They're all very good, and appreciate all those that are sending them in, and those that we don't get to. We're getting ready to wrap up here in just a second. Someone from Mustafa's team will be back in touch. Temporary, these are all temporary positions for the most part, but can you speak just a second on full-time? And are you an example of somebody that started in a temporary position and now works full-time or not?
Yes, I actually, as I shared, I started on a temporary basis. Most of our positions are temporary, but there's a good possibility they turn into permanent positions.
Okay.
The application link 2020census.gov/jobs is strictly for temporary positions. If you want to be considered for a permanent position, you want to visit usajobs.gov. And that's the federal government official page, basically for permanent positions. usajobs.gov.
Okay. Is a valid driver's license necessary for the clerk positions?
Those positions are in or near basically the area census office. As long as, let's just put it this way, I mean, it's not really required for clerical positions as long as, like you are able to report your work daily.
Okay.
But for
sure.
out in the field positions, it is required.
Okay. And for the census takers, a lot of these are for the census taker positions. Are those do you work solo on those? When you're out as a team, do you work? Are you individually going door to door by yourself?
We allow census takers to pair up, but for the most part, it is solo.
Okay. And I think that takes us up to just about the top of the hour. So we do want to get ripped up. There's some specific ones that we did not get to. We want to get a couple of these polling questions finished up, and let's do that right now. So let me fire this first one out. This first one it asked the question. Second here, would you like to be contacted by a recruiter for a follow-up? Simple yes or no. What's important here is the fact that they got your contact information. This is great for Mustafa and the recruiting team to have all this. These are folks, and I will tell you, Mustafa, I don't want to spoil the secret here, but the vast majority of people on today do want to follow up and are interested. That's very exciting, particularly given these tough times that we're in right now. So really neat jobs, neat opportunities, and again, the vast majority of folks. This is another one we're going to start up right here. What position? So what position are you most interested in? You need to select one here. So put down what you're most interested in. Again, by no means does this limit you on that. So at least this will give the recruiters an idea of the one you're interested in. It doesn't preclude you from going in and knowing that the census taker position is the big number. And I will also tell you this, Mustafa, the number one choice is the census taker. So there's some good news for you. Folks on today, the vast majority are interested in that, and I know that's where your need is as well. So we've now hit the top of the hour, so that's some good information for you and your folks, Mustafa, and thanks to all of you for responding on the polling and really for being with us today. So Mustafa, any final words from you before we get wrapped up?
Yes, I want to thank each and every one of you actually for joining us today. I strongly encourage you to apply. This is an excellent opportunity to make extra money and more importantly to help your community get the right resources. I have shared with Bob, with Jim earlier that every person that doesn't get counted, basically the state will lose an estimate of $17,000. So you can imagine if 100 people don't get counted. That is a lot of money. That is millions of dollars lost for the state. So we encourage you to help us achieve that goal by applying, by considering to work for us. If you not interested in our jobs, please share it with someone who might benefit from it. Here's my contact info. Please feel free to call me, email me, however you want to do it, any time of the day. I barely get any sleep, so call me anytime.
Well, hey, Mustafa, that was a great point and a great presentation on your part today. And I think this has been also very exciting. And I don't want to lose sight for what you just mentioned there. Not only is this interesting, kind of fun work, but it's also great public service. I mean, this is of great value to the state of Indiana. So I'm glad you mentioned that. And so that's not to be underscored, the public service component. This is good work, and people should realize that. So, hey, with that, I'm going to, we're going to throw it over to Jim Mehring. Jim's our Region 5 Workforce Development Board Chair. And again, this doesn't happen without Jim's work and his the fine team in the Region 5 office. But Jim, it's in your hands to get things wrapped up for today. Thanks.
Thank you, Bob. And once again, I say, wow. Thank you, Mustafa, for, your energy, your excitement. What a great presentation, and even making yourself personally available. That's pretty awesome, and we really appreciate it. I learned quite a bit, 230 years of existence. And even up until today, it was done the same way over all those years. And I think probably the biggest thing for me is the importance of the data gathering and what that can mean to each and every citizen of the states in the United States of America. To those who are on, thank you. I want to make sure that you please visit the website that Mustafa gave us at 2020census.gov/jobs for more information. And two, as a reminder, and as the need may arise for you individually, please be sure to utilize Work One via www.workoncentral.org. And Bob, I can't close without a very special thank you to several people like Shelley Howard, David Shitkowski, you, Bob, thank you so much, Commissioner Payne, Department of Workforce Development, and of course the host of other folks, team members who made today possible. I can assure everyone these folks are working tirelessly in their efforts to meet the needs of the communities we serve. And today's was just a little bit better, and I would like to extend a special thank you to the other regions and their workforce development boards throughout the state of Indiana for their participation in today's event. It's so cool because we're all working together collectively as a team throughout the entire state to meet the needs of the wonderful citizens of Indiana. So let me close by saying thank you to all who participated, kind of echo what Mustafa shared. These virtual job fairs are wonderful opportunities. We hope you found them both helpful and informative. And I'd like to say good luck, and we certainly wish you all the very, very best. Thank you for your time today. We do appreciate it.
Thank you.